You started with a dream, now you leading a team, working it closing them deals, working with purpose. You don't walk around with a purse, but you working it, walking in heels. Beauty and brains, speaking and fighting for change, intellectual and clever. You show the ladies everything a man can do, you can do better.
Hey, ladies, welcome back to another interview of the Flippin' Hills Badass Women in Real Estate Virtual Summit, our fifth annual, by the way. And today we have a very, very special guest. I'm so excited to bring to you guys this woman because she is just phenomenal. She is like, hey, I'm here to say what I gotta say. I don't care who said what. These are my experiences. This is my understanding, and this is what I got to give it. So so I love the fact that this powerhouse woman, this badass woman in real estate, is a true boss in the buy and hold space in creative real estate investing. And so we are going to get all into the gems today. But I am so excited to bring to you guys Ms. Jhanel Wilson. Hey, girl.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad I wasn't kicked off.
No, no, I'm so glad that you are here because you have a wealth of knowledge in regards to just information, your experiences, going through different eras in real estate, with the market. And so I am ready to get all into the sauce today. But please introduce to our audience, who you are, a little bit about your background before real estate.
Yeah, so I was 22 when I made a big decision to go from engineering to real estate. But basically, I was in my fourth year of college, and I got a call saying that my dad's house, across the street from my grandmother, was about to get sold at auction. And I decided to get a student loan and pay back the back taxes. After that, I graduated, and then I started working, and then I got another call saying that it was about to be demolished. And I was like, okay, so I went downtown, found out the violations, and it was like a whole cloud of overwhelm. Like, I knew the house did not work. It had been abandoned for over 10 years, and the house that was falling apart, the bricks were falling. You could see the sky from the inside, and I got it fixed up, and I went through the normal ups and downs, and I started cash flowing $700 a month. And it really just changed my path of engineering to real estate. And now that being 18 years ago, now I have a portfolio worth over $11 million cash flowing, and I'm starting to teach other people how I did it.
I love it. And so in regards to, like you said, you have that cash flowing portfolio, which is a nice amount. That's also over 100 doors.
Yes. I think I'm over 150 now. After a while, you stop counting. It's just like part of your thing.
Yeah. I love it. And so you got that first property. You were a landlord right away, right? So let's talk about that, being a first time new landlord, the good, the bad, the ugly, the ups, the downs, the wins, the lessons. Let's get into that.
Man, being a landlord, it's like there's a stigma to everything and everybody, everything. I didn't even know that people thought bad about landlords until I had this post, and then people say that I'm scum of the earth and all these things. So anyway, I wasn't even prepared for this question because people usually ask about the tenants and stuff, but it's interesting, and I have learned a lot from making mistakes and learning the other side of it. I have been in my tenant's position as well, so I understand it, I can empathize, and so I'm able to see both sides, and so I can always say, okay, this is how she feels, this is how I'm going to do about it. But for the most part, my tenants are like my clients, and they understand I keep the house up. They understand that they have to pay me rent, and they don't really cause me any problems. I have a property management software that if there are problems, they just alert me right in there. I recently hired someone to kind of take over the property management, and COVID kind of forced me to do that. So now I'm kind of like almost all the way hands off, and it feels weird, but it has allowed me to start teaching everyone how I do it.
Yeah, and so when you first started though, I'm imagining like you did not have a software at the time,
Oh
or you
no,
did?
no,
Right.
it was all up here. It was all up
Right.
here.
Right. And so did you have anybody that you could call, that you could say, "Hey, I got questions." Like, what did that even team look like? Was there a realtor
Um,
around, an attorney, an inspector,
no,
anybody?
for like the first 2 to 3 years, I was just like wandering. I didn't know anyone who was investing. I didn't have any mentors. And they were like, I didn't go to any investment clubs. Like the internet wasn't really, I'm showing my age now, but there just wasn't a lot of information. So I was kind of just making mistakes and learning from them. I made a ton of mistakes. But I am resilient, and I'm like, all right, I learned that didn't work out right. Let me just try this next time. And that's just how I did it. But when I did start to meet people, when I did go to this like event where they were selling this weekend course for $6,000, I didn't pay for it, but it did open my eyes to like more people who were doing it, and it started to leave breadcrumbs. And I was like, oh, let me go here, let me go there. And I did start learning about new things. But no, in the beginning, I didn't know anything. And so it did hinder my growth and how I moved. But I don't regret it. I like learning. So, but there was a definitely huge difference when I started to network and meet people who were in this space.
Got it. Cool. So you got that first property, and then you were like, okay, I'm figuring it out, but it's not so bad. And then you decided to continue buying properties. So tell us, what that was like the next couple of purchases in regards to even like financing, right? Because I think, that's a big question. And I know that's also one of your specialties, right? Like you help people get into properties with no money down and things like that. So, I know you utilize creative financing strategies. So were you using those up front? If not, we can talk about those a little later. But yeah, just tell us about how that all
Yeah.
came about.
Well, let me go back to my first property, because it was definitely bad when I was going through it, because I didn't even know like what the end looked like. I was going straight off of faith. What made me keep it was, so once I paid the money for the back taxes and I paid for the violations to get fixed, I was in it for about $10,000. And at that point, like I didn't really know what else to do. I was like, what do I do? And people were like, just sell it. I was like, okay. So an investor offered me $45,000 for a house, and I thought it was worth like 20. If he would have offered me 20,000, I would have sold it. But since he offered me 45, I was like, it's wait, do you see the condition that it's in? You gonna pay me 45,000 for this? I'm like, wait a minute, I need to figure out why he thinks this thing is worth 45,000. So I said, you know what? I'm going to figure this thing out. And that quick, the following weekend, I was at my mom's salon, and there was a customer there who had a house around the corner. And she said, I just refinanced my house, did a drive-by appraisal, they didn't even go inside, and I got $60,000. I was like, what? This is my answer. So that's what I did. I fixed up the outside of the house. I put in new windows, I painted, and did a drive-by appraisal. It appraised for $70,000. And I got a home equity loan. So just to recap, I paid $5,000 on a credit card to pay for a student loan to pay for the back taxes. I got a credit card to pay for the violations. Now I'm getting a home equity loan to fix up the repairs, the inside. Now, when I went to close on my loan, I found out there was all types of judgments and old mortgages and liens and water bills and all types of stuff I had to pay. So then I had to pay, out of the $63,000 that I had to pay $45,000. So I had about 20 left over. It was a good thing I didn't sell it, because I would have walked away from the table with nothing. I would have been mad. So I took what was left over and I fixed it up, but I had all types of contractor problems that happened to everyone. I had sleepless nights. I'm thinking I'm being scammed. He's not answering my calls. I'm going through like the regular stuff. I'm like, I'm spending all this money and he's not answering my calls. And I'm the type of person who's like, I was in the personal finance and, no debt, interest. I'm like, I'm paying all this interest. I'm just like, panicking. But I just kept pushing. I like drove around to where I knew he was working somewhere else, and I saw his workers. His worker was like, yeah, he's not paying us. So, they all say this. Once you get into the space, it's like they always say they're not paying them. So anyway, I was like, I'll pay you. And so that's what I did. I paid them their daily rate to finish the house and got finished. So then I got the section tenants in there and it worked out. So my first property, it was very stressful, but when I made it to the end and I'm cash flowing $700, it was like, oh, this is what it's about. This is why he was going to pay me $45,000. I'm glad I stuck with it. I'm glad I don't had those sleepless nights because it was all worth it. So, you know, you got to take that leap of faith sometimes when it's like you don't really know, you don't even know what you're doing, but you're like, you know, I'm just going to figure this out. You know, someone else is doing it and they're making money. I can make some money too. So let me just do it. If they can do it, I can do it. So that was the kind of attitude that I had. So when I got my second property, I'm like, all right, let me see if I can do this again. Is this repeatable? You know, I'm an engineer, so I'm always like running experiments. And so I did. It wasn't exactly, it was kind of the same, but I bought a duplex. I used an FHA loan. I put like $2,000 down, and it was like a cosmetic. So, and I paid to fix it up with my paychecks very slowly. It took a long time. And actually what I did was at the end, I refinanced my first house again and took out another $10,000 to finish that house. And I remember being at the closing table, my dad was there and he was like, you paying all these fees to go and all this stuff, just take out $10,000. You must be in bad shape. And I said, listen, I need this to finish this other house so I can get this $700 or whatever cash flows I'm trying to get. And I just ignored him. And when I did finish it, that was cash flowing $900 a month. I was like, wait, oh, I got something here. So now I know it's repeatable. And then I tried to do it again for a third time and I couldn't get an FHA loan. And I was like, crap, what am I going to do? So my next little scheme was like, I'm going to assume somebody's mortgage. Okay. They call it subject to. You know, I'm always scheming, thinking about things. So this person, the house was about $30,000. She owed about 27 on it. And I paid her $1,000 and I assumed everything. So I used a credit card. My credit limit was $8,000. I fixed it up with $8,000. I painted all the wood paneling. I painted the drop ceiling. I just painted everything. So when I finished, I realized that this mortgage that I had was a subprime mortgage. The rate was like 27%. My payments were $300. $17 was going towards the principal. And I was like, I cannot stay in this loan. Oh my gosh. So I tried to refinance through like a regular residential loan. They're like, yeah, no, you can't. I'm like, what do you mean? Like the rent is $850, the payment is $300. I still make $50,000 at my job. I got these other two properties. What do you mean I don't qualify? They're like, yeah, that's the income. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, how is this not making sense? And so I was like, what am I going to do? So I called my friend who paid $6,000 for a weekend real estate course. So this was back in 2009. So $6,000 for a weekend course is a lot of freaking money. So I wanted to go, but I couldn't go because everything was maxed out. So I called, I said, how are these people are getting these loans? How are they applying? How are they getting approved and they don't work? They don't have jobs. They said they get commercial loans. And I was like, what is this? So he gives me a number to a lender. I call him. He basically tells me the process. He's like, yeah, this is no problem. You have good credit. This has cash flow. You're approved. So I discovered the BRRRR strategy because they came out there and appraised for $70,000. I got to pay back her loan, my credit card, and I had like an extra 20 or so thousand left over. And I was like, what? New strategy alert. So yeah, so that's basically how I've been moving in these spaces, using leverage, using subject twos, using credit cards, using commercial loans. And then I discovered hard money lenders. And then it just started to spiral out of control. And yeah, I can go into more detail if you want.
Good stuff, man. So, wow. So that's good.
That's a lot to unpack.
Powerful. You know what? But I heard some very powerful stuff there, right? So one, you said like resilience, right? And being resilient on your very first deal. I'm sure the listeners will get some motivation and some inspiration out of that because your very first deal was very difficult. And, you know, but fast forward, right? Now you own, you know, over 150 doors. But had you just let that one property get you down, you know, you would not be, you know, where you were, you know, where you are today. Right, so like I said, just being resilient and sticking it out and figuring it out. And you have to think outside the box, right? You like, look, I drove around and I was like, okay, I'm gonna
Did.
figure it out. I'm gonna pull up, okay?
I
And
pulled up. I
so
always pull up.
listen, I pull up too. So, but no, so that was good. And then, like you mentioned, like the financing and the creative financing, and saying like, there's a way where there's a will, there's a way, right? And figuring it out and saying like, hey, leverage personal credit cards, personal loans, student loans. I heard you say student loan. Okay. So for the students that are listening, right? So there's so many ways in which you can get creative. And so I just love that, the fact that, like say, you figured it out. Good stuff. Okay, cool. So fast forward a little bit. What would you say your most creatively financed deal has been to date?
I
Unless you
mean,
just got a house for free, right? Because then
I mean,
that probably trumps that.
I can run through like all the crazy stuff that I've done. I mean, I've used credit cards. I've done stuff like taking money out of my Roth IRA. You have 60 days to put it back. I've taken it out, put a down payment, did my first draw, got the money back out, paid my Roth on a 59th day. So I didn't pay any penalties. I've leveraged other people's houses. Like sometimes if I have a lender, he's like, I don't like this deal, Jhanel. And I'm like, let's make it happen. What can we do? He's like, do you have any free and clear properties? No, they're on mortgage to the max. Do you know anyone else? Yes. We can do that? I'm like, yeah. So he let me leverage something. I leverage other people's houses too. So I mean, I think those are probably the craziest things I've done. Leveraging other people's houses, putting money back, putting it right back in real quick.
But
Sometimes.
okay, so all right, I gotta ask. So what's the conversation when you say, "Hey, I want to put your house up for my loan"? Like, and you ain't gotta tell us who, right?
Okay,
But I am curious, and I know.
I was
No,
about
go
to
ahead.
tell you who.
Listen,
You know
get
what?
into it.
I'll tell you. It was for the first time, it was really hard for me because I don't like asking people for nothing. It's very hard for me to humble myself and ask for something, especially when I'm like trying and working hard and no one really sees a vision in you. And I'm like, so before I went to this person, it's a family member. I text her and I asked her, like, is this house, not her house, it was like the house that she owned. I said, is this free and clear? She said, yes. Why? And I was like, I wasn't ready to like talk about why, because I hadn't really got in my mind how I was going to ask her. She called me and I was like, I started crying. I didn't want to ask her and it made me really uncomfortable. And I told her the situation. I said, I have these 5 triplexes. I need to fix them up. My lender doesn't want to give me the entire loan. And he's asking me to leverage another property. I said, listen, no matter what happens, I will never let your house get taken. Like I will sell the property before something happens, but he's not going to do that. I'm going to do whatever it takes to make this happen. And she was just like, no. And I felt bad because she has let other people use her credit cards, let people do this and do that. And it's like, I mean, I know they ruined it for me, but it's like, I felt like she knew me when, I've always paid her back whenever she let me borrow anything else. Like I thought she knew me, I thought she had faith in me. So I took it personally at that time. And then I happened to ask my maintenance guy. For those of you who follow me on Instagram, I talk about him a couple of times. He's like my right-hand man and mentor, but I didn't realize how many properties he had around Philly, but he had some free and clear. And he was like, yeah, sure, no problem. I was like, really? But later, so he let me do it, right? And in return, he had like fines and past due taxes. Like, yeah, I'll just pay it. I see the bigger picture. But later on, I forgave the person that I asked because real estate seems risky to some people. They don't understand it. It wasn't about me, it was about her. Because he's in real estate, he understands it. He sees me working and hustling, doing stuff. So it's like, he gets it. So if you ask someone to do something like that, it has to be someone who gets it, someone who has faith in you, someone who is not going to be like, just someone who understands the process basically. So, but yeah, that's what happened.
So good. Yeah, I definitely had to. I was like, wait, you did what? But you're so right. Like, yes, people don't understand real estate. Hell, I mean, we didn't understand real estate, right? Before we got in real estate, it's not like This is not, something that is discussed at our dinner tables, growing up, and that whole thing. But definitely kudos to you for, again, being resilient, not giving up, continuing to ask conversations even when you felt uncomfortable. And like you said, it was something that you didn't even know could be done, but then you're like, oh man, okay, now my wheels are turning. Who do I know that I can reach out to? And I have definitely been in this space where I have needed, to raise money for investing in projects. And thankfully, I'm at a point where most people, like, if they have it, they're like, yes, right. If I need it, because I've shown, right, and proven, like, hey, this is who I am. This is, your stuff, right? But when you're just getting started, it is difficult, right, to get people to trust you. And what I say is, even when you're just getting started, like, you can partner with people, right? Leverage their success. So, like, even if Jhanel, like, had that, the woman who she asked, what if they said, like, well, maybe, but I don't really know, like, your success yet, right? Like, she could have then partnered with her maintenance man and said, hey, I need you to, come in on these deals with me together, because, I need somebody that has a little bit more experience. And then you would have been able to, get the money. So I love that. And you're an engineer, right? We call it being a deal engineer, and creatively putting stuff together. I mean, you like deal engineer, like 5.0 though, like on another level, but but
Make it happen.
but I love it. I love it. Good stuff. So, so how easy is it for people to find deals? Because I see you, talking about that all the time on social media. And, I feel like it's a myth, like, when people are saying, like, oh, there's no deals anymore.
Yeah. So most people know about the multiple listing service, which is when you go through a realtor, and there's like, that is just one avenue. It's just the most popular one, but there's so many other ways to get houses. My biggest network of houses come from auctions. Now, of course, with COVID, the auctions have been low, but I use wholesalers and realtors a lot. And because I still use realtors, because I have a personal relationship with them. People are using Zillow and realtor.com thinking that can replace a person. I'm like, it doesn't. You need a realtor. A realtor is a relationship. They have a network of other people, and they can advocate for you. They can say, I have a strong buyer. She's paying cash. She got this, she got that, and get you the deal. So it's like, you just have to know, you got to know that this is a relationship business. So I have a relationship with my realtors and with my wholesalers, and that is how I get most of my deals. They are out there hustling. They know exactly what I want. I tell them what I want. I say, I want this, I buy that. And when they bring it to me, I buy it. I buy it. We don't play no games. And they're like, Jhanel's a buyer. Let's keep bringing her what she got, because she knows she's going to bring, because she's going to buy it. And if she's full, she'll give us someone else who's going to buy it. So as long as they know that you're a buyer, you got money, and you don't play no games, they bring you deals. Because so many people, they're so wishy-washy. They tell you what you want, then you bring it to them. They're like, oh, I don't know. This is that. This is that. No, you got to be sure about stuff. And I mean, I see it with my students too. They get a deal and it's like fits their stuff perfectly. I'm like, yo, let's buy. What are you doing? And they're stuck in analysis paralysis is what I'm thinking. Was what I found out is a problem. They need someone to say, go buy it. Even after I say it, they still wouldn't. So after they miss a couple deals, I'm like, all right, now it's time to buy. And they're like, okay, yes. But yes, so people get stuck in analysis paralysis. So don't be that person. Learn what you want. And then when they bring it to you, buy it. And that is another thing about that, is knowing how you're going to pay for it. Like, I'm an advocate for paying with cash, or something that's good as cash, which is using credit cards and hard money loans and other forms of financing.
Good stuff. So, yes, when somebody brings you something good, buy it, right? I like that. I like that tagline, because it helps you create that relationship, right? That trust. And like you said, you don't have the means to buy it, right? Figure it out. So I want to talk about purchasing properties and like finance and rehabs through credit cards, because I feel like that has been like a big question mark. Like, some people hear it, but they don't really understand it or grasp the concept. And it's like, well, how? They're like, okay, well, I'm not swiping my credit card at the title company, right? So what is your process of that?
first thing I tell people is like, don't tell your realtor you're using a credit card. Like, I didn't realize I had to tell people that, but they were like, yeah, my realtor said I can't do that. I said, no, you can't do that. We're fronted. We're faking it until we make it. Okay. Don't tell nobody. No one even knew I was doing this until I got on Instagram and started telling people. Like, I need to block my hard money lender because I'm like, he probably didn't even know I was doing this, but I was. But basically, first of all, it has to be a house that is less than what you're paying for. I mean, it's worth more than what you're paying. So if you're using 100% leverage, you cannot, it has to, like, so for example, if you're spending 80,000 in leverage, it has to be worth 100,000. Okay, so that is the first rule. This is to be used with the BRRRR strategy. Do not buy turnkey properties. Do not get in bidding wars over beautiful houses using 100%. No, it has to be a BRRRR property, okay? Whenever you're taking advice from someone, learn who you're taking it from. I'm a BRRRR investor, so if you're using 100% financing, it has to be a BRRRR property, which means you buy it under market value, you put some sweat equity into it, whether it be mental sweat equity or physical sweat equity, and bring it up to value. So you're making up that difference in work, okay? So first thing is knowing that you don't tell your realtor. Second thing is knowing that you're buying properties for less than what they were. The third thing is knowing which cards you can use, knowing how to use them, and knowing that you need to refinance out of them. So either refinance out or sell it. You know, I want you to keep them. So figure out which lender that you need to go to refinance out, because not all lenders are created equal, which I hope I have explained. But yeah, that's basically the gist of it.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. So you also, talk a lot online about, what you've learned throughout your journey and throughout the years, and why people don't know these things, right? So why do you feel as though, like, why has nobody taught us all of these amazing strategies that you've used to creatively acquire real estate?
I mean, the problems are multifaceted. One of them is that we're just taught not to use that. And whatever you're taught not to use, you don't learn how to use it. So people are responsible, or they're not responsible with it and make mistakes. And it's like, yeah, I told you, don't use it. And so we don't know how to use it. We don't know how to apply for it. We don't know how to make money with it. And so because I first started out with personal finance, I read all the Susie Orman books, I read other books. And so I basically had a basic understanding of money, interest, and how it works. And then I just started to experiment. But the other thing about it is that people like to control you. And I'm going to use this analogy that I'm currently going through with my dad to bring it home. So my dad got sick last summer and he was in the hospital for a while, and then he got moved to like a nursing home where he has to get rehab. He's been there for months. And I would go there and I would see him curled up in the bed. I was like, Dad, are you giving up? Like, what's going on? And he's like, they won't let me walk. They won't let me do this. Don't let me do that. And I said, listen, if you want to get out of here, it is all in your control. He's an occupational therapist. I said, all you get to do is do your exercises and you can come out. And he's like, they just won't let me. I was like, since when do you follow the rules? Do it anyway. Do it anyway. And he said, well, so when I get up, they tell me I gotta sit back down. I said, do it anyway. We don't follow the rules. I've always been a rule breaker, by the way. So he started doing what I told him to do. He got up, and in his room, he would walk back and forth. When they came by, they would yell at him and tell him to get back in his bed. He didn't listen, or he would sit down and then get up and start walking back and forth again. Then once he got strong enough for that, he started coming out in the halls. They would yell at him, tell him to get back into his room. He would go, and then when they stopped looking, he would go back outside and start walking back and forth. Now that he's built up his strength, he is coming out April 1st. Okay, so my point is, they will try to control you, tell you what you can't do, what you can't do. And if you let them believe that you can't do this stuff, you will stay trapped. Be a rule breaker, break the rules, do what you know that you need to do it, okay? So don't let people tell you can't do stuff. That's the first thing. If you have someone who's telling you can't do it, find the person that will tell you that you can and how to do it, okay? Anyone on my page that says can't do this, can do, I said, listen, you ain't my audience. Go talk to a positive mindset coach, because we get it done, okay? Come to me when you want to know how to, all right? So that's the other thing is people want to control you. So you have to learn how to be a rule breaker and take life into yourself. The other thing is, there's just people who have scarcity mindset and don't like to get information out. I am like so free with information that people get mad at me for telling the secrets. And I'm like, how's this going to hurt you? Like, you can start telling secrets too. It doesn't hurt. You can still make money. So those are the three things that I think is stopping us from growing. Secret keeping, controlling, and just we don't have the experience. That's all.
Yeah. Yes, abundance mindset. So we definitely believe there is a more than enough to go around over here.
Yep.
So with that being said, I want to ask you about the management of your portfolio. So you self-managed for a long time, and then you mentioned like having a property management software. So I'm curious to know what is, the best software that you use, because there's so many that are out there. And then you also mentioned that you transition into hiring a property manager. So we'll talk about, the reason for that as well.
All right, so I'm going to tell you how I've like got from different levels. So most mom and pop investors, we keep everything in our heads, okay? We have good memories. We know who's paying us. We know who we got to call on the 15th and to pick stuff up, okay? But then you get to the point where you can't do anymore and like you're capped. So I got to that point where I was at about 40 units. And then I met Dwayne. He's my fiance. He is into tech. He's an IT person. He does software for this. He worked for a big company. And he basically like knew about different softwares. He was like, you need to get a property management software. I was like, I don't know what that is. I don't want to do it. And he basically didn't listen to me. And he got the software, he put his properties in there, and I started putting my properties in there too. I was like, oh. And so because I had this software, it made me able to manage more, boomers. And I'm basically a boomer in disguise. I'm like, I'm really like a boomer. I don't like tech. But so when I got the tech, I was able to grow more. So I'm at like 150. It was like 3 of us. So it was like 3 of us could handle about 50 units at a time. And we were just like, no, it was like 2.5. Anyway, but then when COVID came and my kids were home, and as a mompreneur with kids, it was extremely hard. If you talk to anyone during this time, it was very hard for us. And the good and bad thing is, the good thing is that it forced me to hire someone. And I didn't want to. I didn't want to because I have trust issues. And fortunately, a friend, she got laid off at the time, and she was like, hey, you still need someone? I was like, yes, you want to work with me? Because I'm not even the easiest to work with. But anyway, and she went into that understanding that she's like, I know how Jhanel is. Let me have the patience. Let me be able to deal with her. I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right. Know that I love you and that I'm just trying to like get the job done. If I just give you direct orders, don't take it personally. But anyway, so when I hired her, we did go through a learning curve, which is just, it is hard training people. It's like a whole other thing. But now that I've kind of passed that off, it's like extremely passive. And a lot of investors who are my age, who started like the same time I started, and it's like we went through the same bad workers, the same bad tenants. It's like you get tired of it. So a lot of them have been selling off the portfolio, especially during this time now. I spoke to so many who are selling them off. They're like, yeah, I'm done. I'm tired of doing this, tired of that. But it's like, why don't you hire someone to do it? But I know, but just like me, it's hard to hire people because we don't know who's going to be handling it right. And I'm like, so the first mindset shift I had to make was, no one's going to be as perfect as me. No one's going to know exactly how I do it. There's going to be lessons learned. She's going to lose money. And that's I did lose some money. But overall, I'm thankful for her. And for the most part, because I passed this off and kind of made it a business, I'm still going to keep growing and still making money with these properties. Whereas other people who did not grow, who did not hire people, who did not get a management software, they're selling off their wealth. I mean, I know they see this quick cash now, but wealth is built through accumulation. So I know they don't see it now, but they're losing some wealth here. But anyway, so that is why you have to keep growing and learning and keep making yourself going through these uncomfortable things like learning this technology, uncomfortable like hiring this person. But for the most part, it's to help you grow and to help you keep growing and elevating and becoming a bigger and better person. But anyway, the software that I use is Buildium. I love Buildium because number one, my tenants don't even really bother me. We're all we don't like to be bothered with people. So it's like, they don't bother me, I don't bother them, unless it's like a real big problem. So they contact me through the app, or some of them are old and they don't want to deal with tech either. So they still call. But for the most part, it's great because it makes it easy for them to pay. whenever you're accepting money from people, you have to make it easy to pay. You don't want any excuses. So I have them set up automatic payments. I have them pay at grocery stores or CVS or 7-Eleven. They can all just walk in there and pay if they don't want to have it set up automatic payments. So that is probably the best thing about it is the payment thing. And then you can do things like pay your contractors with it. You can, it keeps track, of course, and all the accounting type of stuff. Yeah, so I mean, if you want to grow, you have to use Buildium, and you do have to pay for it. I know a lot of us don't want to pay for things, but for the most part, it's less than a property management company. And property management companies, oh my gosh, don't get me started on them. They are a scam too. And you could probably, if you know real estate, you can manage your tenants better than they can. They don't respect people. They're not going to respect your tenants. They're not going to fix things the way that you do either. So then they're going to be calling L&I, and you're like, what the heck? I was doing this fine for the past 10 years. You come up in here and now you call L&I, and it's because they ignored your tenant. Tenants call L&I, they call the authorities when they're being ignored. I'm like, don't ignore them. This is a customer service business. Treat them like a client. If they have a problem, fix it.
Facts. Facts. Yes. No, tenants do not like being ignored. I'm so glad that you mentioned that, though. Now, I'm not going to say like all property management companies are terrible. Do your research, but definitely. No, I mean, listen, I got some stories too, right? But do your research, right? There are pros and cons, right? Because not everybody is in a position, where they can self-manage, but absolutely.
I can show you how to self-manage.
Well, listen, I do not discount like anything that Jhanel is one of those people that I look, if you say, what she just say? She said 5 minutes ago, don't say it can't be done, right?
That's right. So, I'll show you how to do it. I've done search, I've done try, I've done experiment. That's how you do it.
Right. Good stuff. So the system, the software is like, in regards to building and scaling. So Jhanel uses Buildium. I know another popular one is like Appfolio, Rent Direct. Those are a couple of popular ones. So definitely take a look into those. So we are sadly coming to an end, but I definitely did not want to end without talking about the fact that you sometimes online share unpopular opinions. And it can be an array of topics, right? Obviously around real estate, but sometimes people will say, hey, you can't do this or you can't do that. And then Jhanel will pop right up and say, well, nope, actually you did. So
I know.
Let's talk about some of those things.
I've always been a rule breaker. I've never really gone with the status quo. I am like a challenger. That's good and bad about me. And because of that, I don't have a lot of friends. The only friends I have are other people who are like me, and people who don't like me because of that. I'm just like, hey, you're not my people. That's all. I don't even feel bad because a lot of them are popular people. I'm like, we're not for each other. It's okay. I'm okay with that. But anyway, if I always listen to what people say, I would be where I am. People tell me I shouldn't buy this property over here. They tell me I shouldn't do this. They tell me I shouldn't be dancing on Instagram. I mean, they tell me I shouldn't do a whole bunch of stuff, and I do it anyway because I see the positive effects of it. So I'm like, you know what? Why would I change? I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing to get my message out. And some people don't even read the message. They don't even read it. They're just like, oh, you're a traitor. I'm like, did you read what I said? I just said, I can show you. I said, it's not because I know I look rich now. I know what I look like, but I know how to fake it. I know how to fake it. I know what they look for. So let me show you how to navigate through this stuff and hide this and hide that and how to say this. And you can do it too. And they're like, no, get on team. I'm like, get on this team and make some money. But yeah, that's just how it is.
Jhanel said, get on the money team, okay? Forget what you're talking about.
I don't have time. I'm an engineer. We are solution based. We don't hang on to details that don't matter. We're just like, oh, this is how you fix it. All right, great. Move on to the next problem. So yeah.
Yeah. So, with that being said, for the newbie investor, I think first and foremost, one of the things that, the point that you made very clear in this interview was financial literacy, first and foremost, right? Understanding money and how it works and leverage, and being resilient. But there are legal ways to creatively acquire real estate. And so, what would you say, to the newbie investor who I'm sure you get, quite a bit of, as students, right? Because you are saying things that people have never heard before, or people have told them like it can't be done, right? So,
Right, that's okay.
what's what's some advice that you would have for someone looking to get started in investing and build a massive portfolio as creatively as possible?
So I have realized, and I learned this from teaching my students, that their biggest problem is too much information and they're overthinking it. I'm like, it's not even that hard. Listen, just buy a property, just needs cosmetic renovation. Like, it doesn't have to be like, don't get a total gut unless you have like contractor and construction experience. Get a turnkey property. Just get that property, because there's so many things that you need to learn on that first property. Just get the basic property and just make sure it cash flows. And they're like, what do you mean cash flow? I said, so if the mortgage is 1,000, make sure you're getting 1,600 in rent. If the mortgage is 700, get 1,200. Like, just make sure you're cash flowing $500 to $600 a month. And they're like, well, where? There's no properties like that. I said, yes, there are. So you either have to go off market or look somewhere else. For most part, you got to buy it off market if you're in a high or a popular area. If you're in a popular area, then you likely have to go off market. But there are still some areas where you can still get those numbers on the MLS. I've seen them. People bring them to me all the time. I'm like, what? Where is this? Let's tell everybody. They're like, no, don't tell anyone. I'm like, you're right. We gotta keep this a secret. But for most part, just get something that is just cosmetic and make sure it cash flows, and then just buy it. Just buy it. I don't want you to take on anything too big, because I don't want you to get discouraged. I just want you to get that perspective. I want you to go through the tenant screening process. I want you to go through having to hire someone to paint and negotiating with them and picking colors. Like, there's so many things you got to learn in that first property that people overlook. And it's like, just get that first property, get the perspective, see how easy it really is or how easy it can be. And then you go further along and just keep increasing the difficulty. And before you know it, you'll be buying multi-million-dollar properties in a year.
Boom. And that's all she wrote. I love it. I love it. So thank you so much for this interview, sharing your tips and tricks, sharing your just insights right into certain topics or certain areas of real estate that have been deemed difficult or can't be done and things like that. Where can people find you, follow you, and support all that you have going on?
So I'm mostly on Instagram. I'm new to social media, so I started with that one. I am on other ones, but I'm not really that active yet. I gotta figure out Instagram first. So find me on Instagram. I am on Facebook. You just type my name, Jhanel Wilson. Yeah, that's where you'll find me. And I'm very active. I talk to people in my DMs. I respond to my comments. I try to help you. I don't mind answering quick questions. Like, don't go through your whole life story and maybe have to figure things out, but I don't mind answering quick questions. Like I said, I'm always free with information. So yeah, just hit me up if you have any real estate questions, problems, money, whatever.
Good stuff. All right. Well, I hope you guys took a ton of notes. I am walking away from this interview like, okay, I want to be like Jhanel. So,
I don't know if I have any friends.
But I mean, hey, like you said, you go against the grain, you go against, the unpopular opinions, and you get deals done. You close deals, you figure it out, you are like, hey, I don't have all the answers, but somebody does, so I'm gonna figure it out. And then what I love is like, you're like, hey, actually, guys, come this way. Like, let me show you, lead me to the promised land.
Yeah.
I love it. So thank you for being you. Thank you for continuing to be outspoken, as a woman entrepreneur boss in this industry. We appreciate you. We need more of you. And with that being
Thank you.
said, thank you so much for blessing us with your presence for our 5th annual virtual summit. And so that's a wrap.
Yeah, and thank you for doing what you do too. Like anyone who builds a platform to teach women, like thank you, because you are needed too. Thank you.
All right, signing
All
off.
right.